Hi guys. We had Dr. Seuss week a couple weeks ago. What did we read? We read One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, Fox and Socks, Green Eggs and Ham, The Cat in the Hat. We read all of those books that Dr. Seuss wrote. Now we're going to read Horton Hears a Who. What animal is Horton? Is he an elephant? This elephant's name is Horton, and he's listening with his ears. He hears something called a who. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Noor, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. So he's in the pool, and he hears a sound. He goes, "What's that? I wonder what it is." So Horton stopped splashing. He looked toward the sound. "That's funny," thought Horton. "There's no one around." Then he heard it again, just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. "I'll help you," said Horton. "But who are you? Where?" He looked and he looked. He could see nothing there but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. See that little tiny piece of dust? That little tiny piece of dirt? That might be something special. That's where the sound is coming from. "I say," murmured Horton, "I've never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So you know what I think? Why, I think that there must be someone on top of that small speck of dust, some sort of creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes." Is there a really, really, really tiny animal or some kind of creature on that speck of dust? It must be way tinier than us, and we're pretty tiny. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear. They're so afraid that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him because, after all, a person's a person no matter how small. This little person is on that little tiny piece of dirt, and they don't know how to turn their dirt around. Where are they going to land? Are they going to get stuck? Are they going to crash? We need to save them. So, gently, and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. See, we left right before St. Patrick's Day, and during St. Patrick's Day, we were also talking a lot about clovers. They're our little tiny green plants. Well, that would be like our 3-leaf clovers, but then there's a field of clovers, kind of different. But what you need to know is it's a plant. It's a plant. He put the dust on a plant. He said, "There, you'll be safe now." Humph, humphed a voice. "'Twas a sour kangaroo." He's in a bad mood. He's sour. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said humph too. What's a baby kangaroo called? A Joey. Hi, Joey. All baby kangaroos are named Joey. "Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there never has been." He says, "There can't be a person on that little tiny piece of dirt. That's too small." Horton doesn't agree. He thinks a person can be that small. "Believe me," said Horton, "I tell you sincerely, my ears are quite keen, and I hear him quite clearly. I know there's a person down there. And what's more, quite likely there's 2, even 3, even 4. Quite likely a family, for all that we know. A family with children just starting to grow. So please," Horton said, "as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be." This is what Miss Maria says when we see bugs, right? When we see bugs outside and I say, "Please don't squish those ants." Right? Those ants have a family. Isn't that what I say? Horton here feels the same way. "I think you're a fool," laughed the sour kangaroo. What's a fool? Fool means you look awfully silly. But the sour kangaroo is mean, so that's why he is calling Horton a fool. It's not nice to call somebody that. I think you're a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too. You're the biggest blame fool in the jungle of Nool. And the kangaroos plunged in the cool of the pool. Splish splash. What terrible splashing, the elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked up the clover and hustled away. The elephant says, I'm bigger. So, because I'm bigger, I know I can protect this small little person. So that's what I'm going to do. Some of you are big brothers, big sisters, and we look out for our little guys, right? When we see the babies in the baby room, we want to take care of them, don't we? And our mommies and daddies take care of us. That's what Horton wants to do for the person on this speck of dust. He says, I'm big, I can take care of you. Sometimes even small people can help out too. We're capable of more than we'd think. Like, I'm very tiny, but, you know, I can do some stuff. There's some things I can't reach, and it's okay to ask for help. But I can do some stuff. I got people like Horton protecting me. Because, you know, it is obvious that I'm a tiny person. So, anyway, I'm going off. All right, forget. Anyway. Through the high jungle treetops, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. He's too silly. He's losing his mind. He's being crazy. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower. And Horton walked, worrying, almost an hour. It's a long time. That's longer than our lunchtime. Should I put this speck down? Horton thought with alarm. So if I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put it down. And I won't. After all, a person's a person, no matter how small. People are laughing at Horton. They're saying he's silly for carrying around that flower. But Horton doesn't want to take any chances. He wants to protect the person. Even though they're so tiny. A person's a person, no matter how small. We still need to protect them. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. The voice was so faint, he could just barely hear it. Speak up, please, said Horton. He put his ear near it. My friend, came the voice. You're a very fine friend. You've helped all us folks on this dust speck no end. You've saved all our houses, our ceilings and floors. You've saved all our churches and grocery stores. Horton was helping out. Everyone thought he was silly, but there really was a person on that speck of dust. They really were there. You mean? Horton gasped. You have buildings there too? Oh yes, piped the voice. We most certainly do. I know, called the voice. I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us, who aren't big, they are wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, for I am a Who, and we Whos are all thankful and grateful to you. And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, You're safe now, don't worry, I won't let you down. So on that teensy tiny speck of dust, there was a whole world. They played ball, they shouted with their horns, they grew trees, they played tennis. Remember when we're on the playground and we can watch people play tennis from across the street? They do that too. They tip off their hats to say hello as their friend walks by with the groceries. They play hockey, they paint walls. They do stuff just like us. They're smaller than us, but they're operating just fine. Horton knew they were there. He believed it. He didn't let anybody tell him he was wrong. But just as he spoke to the mayor of the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers. that's what they're called, came shouting, "What rot! The elephant's talking to who's who are not. There aren't any who's, and they don't have a mayor, and we're going to stop all this nonsense, so there." The monkeys believe it? No. The monkeys don't believe that there are any people on that speck of dust. They're wrong. They snatched Horton's clover. Not nice. They carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vladikov. They're going to give it to that bird. What's that bird going to do? I don't know. I'm worried. And they said, "Will you kindly get rid of this thing?" And before the poor elephant even could speak, the elephant flew off with the flower in his beak. Horton does not like that. He's worried. His mouth is open. His eyes are wide. He's going, "Oh, no!" And they're just teasing him. Not nice. All that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed bird flapped its wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones. Horton is traveling a long way, and he's getting lots of boo-boos along the way, but he's not giving up. He's still chasing the flower. He begged, "Please don't harm all my little folks, all my little people, who have as much right to live as such bigger folks do." But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping his wings. And over his shoulder he called back, "Quit your yapping. I'll fly the night through. I'm a bird, I don't mind it. And I'll hide this tomorrow, where you'll never find it." Unbelievable! That is not nice. That's not the eagles we know. And at 6:56, that's the time, at 6:56 the next morning, he did it. It sure was a terrible place that he hid it. He left that small clover dropped somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers 100 miles wide. "Find that," sneered the bird, "but I think you will fail." And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. "Excuse me." He dropped the flower and a whole field of other flowers. How are we going to tell the flowers apart? How can we know which is which? How can we know which has Whoville on it? Horton is very sad and very worried and very scared. The eagle says you'll never find it, but I have hope. I believe that Horton will. I do have hope. "I'll find it," cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on my small speck of dust." And clover by clover by clover with care, he picked up and searched them, and he called, "Are you there?" But clover by clover by clover, he found that the one that he sought for was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. More dead than alive, meaning he's pretty tired, he's pretty worn out, doesn't have a lot of energy left. He searched through 9,005 clovers. I don't know if we can count that high. That's a lot. Look at all those piles. And he still couldn't find the who's. Then, on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last on the 3,000,000th flower. That's a lot. "My friends," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell. Are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well? Are you okay? Did you get hurt? Did you go kaboom?" I hope they're okay. I'm glad he finally found them. I knew he would, but I hope they're not hurt. From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. Now get close so you can listen. We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed birdie let go and we dropped, we landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped. Our teapots are broken, our rocking chairs smashed, and our bicycle tires are blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please, pleaded the voice of the mayor's, will you stick by us who's while we're making repairs? Of course, Horton answered. Of course I will stick. I'll stick by you small folks through thick and through through thick and through. See, this is the thing. Phrase is changed up. It's usually through thick and thin. This time it's through thin and through thick. Got me. Dr. Seuss always, tongue twisting me. Anyway, everything went kaboom and crash and splish and splash. Everything's broken from when they got dropped. Do you see the clocks? They don't even work. I know it surely feels like time has stopped for us too. They got lots of fixing up to do. Humph, humped a voice. For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who've never existed. Such carryings on in our peaceable jungle. We've had quite enough of your bellowing bungle. And I'm here to state, snapped the big kangaroo, that your silly, nonsensical game is all through. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too. Can you tell them that they're wrong? Because they're really making me quite upset. They really think that there's no people on that flower, but we know there are people on that flower. You just can't see them. But they're there if you'll listen. Kangaroo doesn't believe there's people. Monkeys don't believe there's people. Bird doesn't believe there's people. But you and I and Horton, we know there's people. We know. We're listening. With the help of the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped. And you're going to be caged. And as for your dust speck, that we shall boil in a hot steaming kettle of bezelnut oil. Oh my goodness. Boil it, gasped Horton. Oh, that you can't do. It's all full of persons. They'll prove it to you. Okay, all right. Before they get hurt in the burning hot water, I hope they speak up. And before Horton gets all roped and caged up like an elephant in a zoo, I hope they speak up. So Horton says to the people on the flower, Mr. Mayor, Horton called. Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting, get everyone out. Make every who holler. Make every who shout. Make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in a bezelnut stew. They're going to be made into dinner. Someone's going to eat them for dinner. And down on the dust speck, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting in Whoville Town Square. And his people cried loudly. They cried out in fear, "We are here! We are here! We are here!" Can you hear them? They're all gathering and shouting so loud. They're waving their arms. They're saying, "Look at us. We're here. We're here. Don't hurt us." He got all the way up the stairs. And he's shouting. I wonder if they'll hear it. The elephant smiled. That was clear as a bell. You kangaroos surely heard that very well. All I heard, snapped the big kangaroo, was the breeze and the faint sound of wind through the far distant trees. I heard no small voices, and you didn't either. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me neither." They still didn't hear it. Why do you think that elephant can hear it and the kangaroo can't? And the monkeys can't? And the bird can't? What's so special about how an elephant hears? Look at those ears. They're so big. Maybe that's why the elephant can hear. Sometimes you guys have elephant ears so big and you're such good listeners, just like an elephant. "Grab him," they shouted, "and cage the big dope." That's not a nice word. Dope is like fool, like you're being silly. You're being a dope. "Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose. Then dunk that dumb speck in the bezelnut juice." I do not like the way they are talking. It is not nice. Horton's scared. Horton was scared, but he's still being brave. Remember we talked about being brave? It's when you're really scared, but you do the thing anyway. Like when you have to get shots at the doctor's office, maybe you hold mommy and daddy's hand. You're really scared of the shot, but you do it anyway. That's called being brave. Or when you have to try a new yucky food and you think you're not going to like it, but you try it anyway, that's called being brave. So here's Horton. He is going to get tied up in a cage. I would be very scared if I were him. But Horton is still trying his best to make the Who's be heard. He's very brave. Horton fought back with great vigor and vim. He's very strong. But the Wickersham gang was too many for him. All the animals, they're too many. They beat him. They mauled him. They started to haul him into his cage. But he managed to call to the mayor, "Don't give up. I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small. And you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come on now and try." Okay, so I have goosebumps. Can you see? I just spit all over the camera. I have goosebumps. I feel very powerfully right now about this book. He is right. He's speaking the truth. I really do get chills reading Horton Hears a Who. I think this is the most influential story of our time. The mayor grabbed a tom-tom. Here's his tom-tom. He started to smack it like a drum. That makes a big loud noise, right? He's making a big loud noise kind of like. We got Mickey here in his marching band outfit, making plenty of noise for us too, helping out the Who. And all over Whoville, they whooped up a racket, making a big noise. That's a racket, big noise. They rattled tin kettles. They beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops, and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots, on clarinets, oompas, and boompas, and flutes. All the musical instruments and all the stuff they can find, they banged it silly. Look at all their different instruments. Ooh, I see a xylophone. That looks like a harp. Playing all our different instruments, trying to make as much noise as we can. Great gusts of loud racket rang high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky. And the mayor called up through the howling and hullabaloo, "Hey, Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through?" And Horton called back, "I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong as mine, aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? And your girls too, and everyone? Are you sure every Who down in Whoville is working? Quick, look through their town. Is there anyone shirking? Is everybody participating? Is everybody making noise? Are you sure nobody's sleeping on the job?" Through the town rushed the mayor, from the east to the west, from here to there and everywhere. But everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping. But it wasn't enough, all this ruckus and roar. He had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building. He searched floor to floor. Do you see anybody who's not making noise? Let the mayor know if you see anybody who's not making any noise in there. We gotta find them. And just as he felt he was getting nowhere and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through the door, and that mayor discovered one shirker quite hidden away in the Fairfax apartments 12J. A very small shirker named Jojo was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo. Not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp. And the mayor rushed inside and he grabbed the young twerp. "Look, Jojo, can't you see we're all trying to make some noise here? What are you doing playing with a yo-yo? It's not time to be yo-yoing, Jojo." It is just not time. Maybe with Jojo's voice we'll be loud enough for the kangaroos to hear us. And he climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower, all the way up, getting as high up as we can go, so that outside the speck of dust, maybe they'll hear us. "This," cried the mayor, "is your town's darkest hour. The time for all who have blood that is red to come to the aid of their country," he said. "To come, we've got to make noises in great amounts. So open your mouth loud, lad, for every voice counts." Every voice counts. That's so important. Thus he spoke as he climbed. When they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and he shouted out, "Yup!" He said, "Yeet!" And that yup, that one small extra yup put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on that clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean. And the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They proved that they are persons, no matter how small. And their whole world was saved by the smallest of all. How true. Yes, how true, said the big kangaroo. And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too. From sun in the summer, from rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them, no matter how smallish." So, I have goosebumps again. I love reading this story because even though Horton's a big elephant, he recognizes that there are people out there that maybe aren't seen quite as well as him. It's hard to miss an elephant. When you go to the zoo, you see the elephants right away because they're so big. But did you notice that also in the zoo, sometimes I see little birds and little squirrels running around too? Some rats and some reptiles that are really small, they're out there too. You wouldn't notice them at first. You'd notice the elephant. And Horton here recognizes that he is so big. He has big ears and he has a big voice, right? Elephant goes like, makes a super loud sound. Horton knows that with his big voice, he should speak up for the little guys that you won't hear. And that's what he did. And did he give up when people told him there's no people? They tried to put him in a cage. They said, "That's crazy talk. You're being crazy. You gotta stop." He said, "I'm not crazy. I'll prove it to you." He worked as hard as he could. And he said, "Listen, who's? I know you're small, but if we all come together, our voices can be heard. They'll hear us. They'll see us. They'll change their minds. We gotta speak up for ourselves." And one little who thought, this isn't a big deal. He thought, I'm just one little guy. But when Jojo spoke and went yarp or yeet or whatever sound he made, that is when we heard the who's. We needed everybody to participate. We needed everybody. Even the people who thought, well, my voice doesn't matter. They needed to speak up too. And once they did, Kangaroo said, "I was wrong." That is the most important phrase that you'll ever learn how to say in your life. I was wrong. There were people there. I couldn't see them, but you were right. I'm going to protect them with you. So that's Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss. Another one of our Dr. Seuss books, just like The Cat in the Hat and Green Eggs and Ham and One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, and all of our other favorite books. So thanks for reading with me, guys.